Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Grand Gala Spectacle. Decked in black, green and gold, tens of thousands of Jamaicans sung and danced while being entertained for approximately 4 hours at Jamaica's 60th anniversary Grand Gala at the National Stadium on Saturday. The festival included cultural presentations, performances from some of the island's top entertainers, groups of costume dancers and tributes to musical stalwarts Derek Morgan and Sanchez, and Jamaica's frontline workers who toiled hard while the COVID-19 pandemic raged. Tidbits from several Jamaican icons were also showcased, including cultural stalwart Louis Bennett Coverley, more popularly known as Miss Lou, as well as legendary musicians Dennis Brown and Bob Marley. The day's event also charted some of the achievements of Jamaicans of the international level, from sport to the Miss World contest, which Jamaicans have won on 4 occasions through Joan Crawford, Cindy Breakspeare, Lisa Hanna and Tony and Sing. Sing sang the national anthem and also performed Jimmy Cliff's Many Rivers to Cross in tribute to the frontline workers. The patrons were also treated to the promised display of 300 drones, which lit up the nightly sky with a colorful display of different formations to the sound of different reggae music. Peter Tush Creation started and ended this section. The entertainers also were at their best, with Glacia Robinson, Sister Pat, Kokodo giving praise to the gospel, before TJ stayed with his own lane in Rags to Riches. Barrington Levy ended with Here I Come, Black Roses, My Woman, Living Dangerously, To Experience, Prison Over Rock and Murder. Police theorized that killing of man in Ocho Rios was a contract hit. The St. Anne police have theorized that the killing of a man in Ocho Rios was a construct hit stemming from a family feud. Dead is 33-year-old Marcus Murphy, otherwise called John Tom, a mechanic of Parry Town. Investigators are reportedly following strong leads in the case. The police are also making arrangements for counseling and other intervention with relatives of the man. This in a bid to prevent another possible reprisal attack. Some of Murphy's relatives are not taking his death well, and it's alleged that threats have been made. Reports are that about 5 p.m., Murphy was sitting at a restaurant on Choco Plaza having a bowl of soup when a gunman approached and opened fire, hitting him in the head. The gunman then fled the scene. Police were alerted and Murphy was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Governor General Allen hails milestones over Jamaica's 60 years of independence. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen says the country has achieved several milestones during its 60 years of independence. He says this includes a stable democracy, which allows transfer of power without the use of corrupts and the rejection of injustice and abuse by maintaining the rule of law.
Reflecting on our 6 decades of self-governance and national development, we have many achievements in our short history of which we should be proud. We have a stable democracy that has allowed us to transfer power successfully when the people wish, from one political party to another without any coup. We have upheld the rule of law and rejected injustice and abuse. We have respected, embraced, and followed the Constitution, which was carefully crafted by our forefathers. We have made outstanding contributions to the visual and performing arts, culture, sports, education, tourism, medicine, research and development, science and technology, international relations, global peace initiatives, advocacy on behalf of developing countries, and human rights.
Wholeness urges Jamaicans not to let global crisis dampen Jamaica's 60 celebrations. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says while the country cannot allow the global crisis of pandemic, war and inflation to dampen the celebratory mood, the government is mindful of the hardship Jamaicans are experiencing. In his Independence Day message, Prime Minister Holness says crime has grown significantly over the last 30 years.
Security and public safety, law enforcement, and public order are priority concerns for Jamaicans. Our society has changed much faster than the legislative framework necessary to preserve social order. At the time of our independence, we did not contemplate the levels of access to weapons and the rampant use of violence and offenses against the person. We did not foresee drugs and human trafficking, cyber crimes and scamming, or the pervasiveness of criminal gangs on an enterprise scale. Nevertheless, these problems did not emerge only in the last decade. They have been present and growing significantly in the last 30 years. In retrospect, it is true that as Jamaicans, we have not always made the connection between our economic and political choices. For decades, we have made political decisions inconsistent with good economic thinking, which have had disastrous social consequences. The perfect example is the buildup of the national debt over several decades. Certainly, external events such as global recessions and natural disasters would have pushed governments to borrow. Notwithstanding, we have created crises of our own, like FinSAC, or allowing inefficiently run state entities to continue without intervention, which has driven up the national debt. The eternal struggle for land and shelter ownership is a point of contemplation as we consider 60 years of independence. Your government has committed to creating 70,000 new housing solutions for first-time homeowners. I am pleased to report that we have redirected the NHT and the Housing Agency of Jamaica to focus almost exclusively all their efforts on affordable housing. Though our timelines have been affected by the pandemic, the NHT now has approximately 43,000 housing solutions on its books in various stages, from land acquisition to construction.
Golden bemoans crime and violence inequity amid Jamaica 60 celebrations. Opposition leader Mark Golden says crime and violence, inequality, and an underperformance of education remain some of the most persistent challenges in Jamaica, even as the country celebrates its 60th year of independence.
Crime and violence, inequality, underperformance in education, as well as poverty and hunger amidst the terrible cost of living crisis, all remain deep and persistent challenges that require a great unity of purpose to overcome and improve the quality of life of all Jamaicans. We must put our people at the center of development as we launch on our 61st year and beyond. Social transformation requires investing in our people to build our capacity to compete and excel among all the nations of the world. Jamaica 60 is also an opportune time to recommit to full political independence by removing the last vestiges of past colonial rule. It is time to come together to achieve the constitutional reform required to have a Jamaican as our head of state. The opposition continues to be willing and ready to work with the government to finalize the required legislation, pass it in Parliament, and put it to a vote by the people in a referendum as soon as possible. This step is logically connected to another, which is to ensure greater access to justice for our people by embracing the Caribbean Court of Justice as our final court of appeal. There is nothing to stop this proceeding now, even as we go through the steps of becoming a republic. Let us once again demonstrate that spirit of nation building which led our forefathers and mothers to fight for our freedoms and lay the foundation for our independence. If we can achieve these final acts of political independence together, it will provide a historic example of national maturity and solidarity.
St. Thomas teen charged with illegal possession of firearm. A teenager has been charged with illegal possession of firearm and ammunition following an incident on the Albion Main Road in Yellow St. Thomas on Friday. He has been identified as 19-year-old Dante Francis of Longwood District in the parish. The Yellows police say about 4:35 p.m., lawmen were in the area when they signaled the driver of a Toyota Fielder motor car to stop. He complied and a search of the vehicle was conducted. The police say a pistol with a magazine containing 12 rounds of ammunition was found. Francis was taken into custody and subsequently charged. Linstead residents angry after man's body left along roadway for hours after crash. Residents of Linstead in St. Catherine are peeved that police took more than 3 hours to remove the body of a man who died in a motor vehicle accident early Saturday morning. The residents said the man and a woman, believed to be his girlfriend, crashed along the roadway in the wee hours of the morning, and the deceased was left there until daylight, causing a build-up of traffic. Police have identified the dead man as 30-year-old Renil Stair from Victoria Street in Linstead, who they said died from injuries he sustained in the motor vehicle accident near Cotton Peace in the parish. The Wotton police report that about 2:05 a.m., Stair was driving a 2014 grey Nissan AD wagon when he lost control of the vehicle, which hit a wall and overturned. Police said he was assisted to hospital where he was pronounced dead. However, Residents of the area claim Steer died on the spot and was left there until daylight. They said it was Steer's girlfriend who was taken to hospital, but his body was covered with a sheet and left along the roadway, causing early morning traffic to back up until his body was eventually removed. The police report did not state that anyone was in the vehicle with Steer at the time of the accident, but residents said the woman is a well-known party promoter from the area. Efforts to get a response from the Yorkton police proved futile as several calls to the station number went unanswered. SSP Lindsay appealed to Jamaicans to keep safe during the Independence weekend.
We want to take this opportunity to remind licensed firearm holders that it is a no-weapon event. So no guns, knives, ice pick, and some of those long pointed umbrellas will not be allowed in the stadium for the Grand Gala. So we want our licensed firearm holders to make arrangement for the safekeeping of their weapons. We don't have the facility at the stadium police station to accommodate the safekeeping of weapons, so no weapons will be accepted at the station for safekeeping. So they have to do the necessary arrangement prior to getting there. One of the things that I really want to encourage them not to do, not to leave your licensed firearm in your vehicles. Far too often we see where either the vehicles are stolen or they're broken into and the firearms are taken. So whatever you do, don't leave your licensed firearm inside of your motor vehicle.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell